March 6, 1836, 5 in the morning. William Travis stood on the walls of the Alamo, the old Spanish mission his men had been defending for 13 days. He could see torches across the open ground, hundreds of them, moving, the Mexican army forming up for attack. Less than 200 defenders watched from the walls. They had been watching those torches all night, listening to orders shouted in Spanish, equipment moving, ladders being positioned. Everyone knew what was coming at dawn. For 13 days, they had held this fort. 13 days of artillery bombardment. 13 days of watching the horizon for reinforcements that kept not arriving. 13 days of counting their ammunition as it ran lower and lower. Now it was morning, day 13, and the Mexican bugles would sound any minute. Travis looked at his men on the walls, exhausted, some wounded, all running on no sleep and dwindling hope. They had ammunition for maybe one more fight. The walls had cracks from the bombardment. The food supplies were nearly gone. And out there in the darkness, at least 1,800 Mexican soldiers were preparing to storm the fort from all sides at once. The defenders had 13 days to hold this position. That was the mission. Hold the Alamo, delay the Mexican army, buy time for Texas to organize a defense. 13 days. That was all they needed. Now those days were over. The final morning had arrived. Travis checked his rifle one last time. Behind him, his men were taking positions on the walls, loading weapons, preparing. When the Mexican army first appeared on the horizon, these men had made a choice: stay and defend this fort, or abandon it and retreat. They chose to stay, and now they would find out if that choice had mattered. But to understand why less than 200 men stayed in a fort facing an army of thousands, you have to go back to the beginning, to day one, February 23rd, 1836, when the siege started, and the defenders realized exactly what they were up against. Texas in 1836 was not yet a country, still Mexican territory, but the people living there wanted out. Most Texans were American settlers. They had moved south in the 1820s and early 1830s, when Mexico offered cheap land. Thousands came, built farms, established towns, created communities, but they never really became Mexican. The problem was simple. Mexico wanted Catholic settlers who spoke Spanish and followed Mexican law. What they got were Protestant Americans who spoke English and ignored regulations they did not like. Tensions built for years. By 1835, those tensions exploded into war. Texan militias fought Mexican garrisons, small battles across the territory. The Texans won most of them. Captured San Antonio in December 1835 after a brutal fight. Thought the war might be over. They were wrong. Mexican President Antonio López de Santa Anna was not going to let Texas break away. He took it personally, assembled an army of over 6,000 soldiers, professional troops, well-equipped, well-trained. Then he marched north to crush the rebellion himself. His first target was San Antonio, the largest Texan settlement. Control it, and he would control the center of Texas, could split Texan forces, cut off their communication, destroy the rebellion piece by piece. And sitting in San Antonio was the Alamo, an old Spanish mission built decades earlier. Stone walls forming a rough rectangle, a chapel, courtyards, converted into a fort by the Texans. Not ideal. The walls were crumbling in places, but defensible and strategically critical. Anyone who controlled the Alamo controlled the town. Anyone who controlled the town controlled central Texas. Santa Anna needed to take it. The Texan forces knew the Mexican army was coming. They had maybe 200 men. They retreated into the fort and prepared to defend it. The commander was William Travis, 26 years old, a lawyer before the war. He had joined the rebellion early, risen to officer rank through competence and confidence. Now he commanded the garrison at the Alamo. But he was not the only leader. Jim Bowie was there too, older, more experienced, famous for the knife he carried, a large blade designed for fighting. The Bowie knife. He had a reputation as a fighter, a survivor. Men respected him. Travis and Bowie were supposed to share command. It was awkward. Two commanders, different styles, but they made it work. Then Davy Crockett arrived. 50 years old, former congressman from Tennessee, famous frontiersman. He had lost his re-election campaign and come to Texas, looking for a fresh start. Brought a group of Tennessee volunteers with him, maybe a dozen men. Crockett was not in command, but his presence mattered. He was famous, a legend. His arrival boosted morale, gave the defenders hope that if someone like Crockett was willing to fight here, maybe they could win. The garrison was a mix. Some were Texan settlers, farmers who had taken up arms to defend their land. Some were American volunteers, men who came to Texas looking for adventure or opportunity. Some were Tejanos, Mexican Texans who sided with the rebellion, fighting against their own government. Less than 200 men total, maybe 180, maybe 200. The exact number is disputed, but it was small. Everyone knew that. They had artillery, a dozen cannons positioned along the walls, muskets, rifles, pistols, ammunition for maybe a week of fighting if they were careful. Food supplies were okay. The fort had a well, water was not a problem, but they were not prepared for a long siege. Nobody expected one. In late February 1836, scouts brought news. The Mexican army was close, very close, maybe a day away. Travis sent out more scouts, get accurate numbers, find out exactly what they were facing. The scouts came back on February 23rd. Their report was not good. At least 1,500 Mexican soldiers, probably more, could be 2,000. The column stretched for miles, infantry, cavalry, artillery, a professional army, well-equipped, well-trained. Travis called a meeting with his officers, laid out the situation. We have less than 200 men. They have at least 1,500. We can abandon the fort now, retreat before they arrive, or we stay and fight. Some officers argued for retreat. The odds were impossible. Why die defending a crumbling mission when they could retreat and regroup with the main Texan army? Others argued for staying. The Alamo controlled San Antonio. If they abandoned it, Santa Anna would march straight into the heart of Texas unopposed. They needed to slow him down, make him fight for every inch, buy time for Texas to organize a real defense. Travis made the decision. They would stay, defend the Alamo, send messages to other Texan forces asking for reinforcements, and hold as long as they could. February 23rd, 1836, mid-afternoon, the Mexican army appeared on the horizon. Just like the scouts said, thousands of soldiers, columns of infantry marching in formation, cavalry units on the flanks, artillery wagons rolling forward. Santa Anna's army surrounded San Antonio, set up camps, positioned artillery. The defenders watched from the walls, counting, estimating, realizing the scouts had underestimated. This was not 1,500 soldiers. This was closer to 1,800, maybe more. 10-to-1 odds, maybe worse. Travis ordered all civilians out of the fort. Women, children, anyone who could not fight. They left, hurried into town, then fled south away from the army. That left the defenders, less than 200 armed men, facing an army. Santa Anna sent a messenger, a demand. Surrender now. Lay down your arms. You will be treated as prisoners of war. Travis refused, answered with a cannon shot, fired one of the fort's artillery pieces toward the Mexican lines. A statement, "We will not surrender." Santa Anna raised a red flag above his headquarters, a blood-red banner. The meaning was clear: no quarter, no mercy. If the fort fell by force, every defender would be killed. No prisoners. The defenders saw the flag, understood what it meant. This was not going to be a normal siege. This was going to be a fight to the death. Travis immediately began writing messages, urgent appeals for help, sent riders out under cover of darkness, carrying letters to Texan settlements, to the provisional government, to anyone who might send reinforcements. The messages were desperate. We are surrounded by thousands of Mexican soldiers. We need help. Send troops. Send supplies. Send anything. You're probably thinking help was coming. It wasn't. The first night of the siege was quiet. The Mexican army did not attack, just surrounded the fort, set up positions, prepared. Inside the Alamo, the defenders prepared too, reinforced weak points in the walls, positioned artillery to cover approaches, organized into shifts. Some men on watch, others resting. Nobody slept much. The tension was too high. An army of thousands sat just outside the walls. An attack could come at any moment. Day 2, February 24th. The Mexican artillery opened fire. Not a full bombardment, just a few cannons. Testing range, trying to hit the walls. Most shots missed or did minimal damage. The defenders fired back. Their cannons were better positioned, higher elevation. They could hit the Mexican artillery positions, force them to pull back. But the Mexican army had more cannons, more ammunition, more everything. They could afford to trade shots. The defenders could not. Travis sent more messages. Riders slipping out at night, carrying the same desperate appeals. We need help. We cannot hold forever. Send reinforcements. Day 3, February 25th. The bombardment intensified. More cannons joined in, firing at intervals, not trying to breach the walls yet, just wearing down the defenders, making it impossible to sleep, creating constant pressure. Inside the fort, men rotated in shifts, half on the walls watching, half trying to rest. But rest was impossible. The explosions never stopped. Even off-duty men lay awake listening to cannonballs slam into stone. That afternoon, a messenger returned, not with reinforcements, with a letter. The provisional government acknowledged Travis's request. They understood the situation, but no troops were available to send immediately. The main Texan army was still forming, still organizing, still weeks away from being ready to march. Hold the fort as long as you can. Help might come later, maybe. The defenders read the letter, understood what it meant. No help was coming. Not soon. Maybe not ever. The men could have left. The Mexican siege was not airtight yet. Small groups could slip out at night, escape south, join other Texan forces, fight another day. You're probably thinking they would leave. They didn't. They stayed, made the choice consciously, knowing what it meant, because every day the Alamo held was one more day the Mexican army was stuck here. One more day Santa Anna was not advancing deeper into Texas. One more day for the provisional government to organize, to gather troops, to prepare a real defense. The defenders understood the mission now. This was not about winning. This was about buying time, holding as long as possible, making Santa Anna pay for every inch. By the end of day 3, the situation was clear. The bombardment would continue. Reinforcements were not coming, and the defenders chose to stay anyway. The siege had begun, and there was no going back. Day 4, February 26th. The Mexican artillery found its rhythm. Constant bombardment, not trying to breach the walls yet, just maintaining pressure, keeping the defenders awake, wearing them down psychologically. The defenders fired back when they had clear targets, but they were conserving ammunition. Every shot counted. The Mexicans had wagons full of powder and shot. The Texans had what was already in the fort. Nothing more. Travis sent another rider out that night. Another desperate message to the provisional government, to Sam Houston, to anyone who might organize a relief force. The letter was blunt. We are holding, but we need help. Soon. Inside the fort, routines developed. Men rotated through 3 shifts. 4 hours on the walls, 8 hours off. The math did not work perfectly with less than 200 men covering extensive fortifications. Some men pulled double shifts. Nobody complained. Everyone understood. The wounded from the first few days were being treated in the chapel. Minor injuries mostly. Cuts from flying debris. One man hit by a cannonball fragment. The fort had limited medical supplies. Bandages. Some whiskey for pain. That was about it. Bowie was getting sicker. The illness that had been bothering him for days was getting worse. Fever. Weakness. Some sources say typhoid. Others say pneumonia. Either way, he was confined to bed. Could not command. Could barely stand. Travis was now the sole active commander, 26 years old, responsible for defending an indefensible position with insufficient men against overwhelming odds. Day 5, February 27th. The Mexican army tightened the siege, moved artillery positions closer to the walls, positioned sharpshooters to target defenders on the parapets, made it dangerous to even show yourself above the wall. The defenders adapted, stayed low, fired from cover, used loopholes in the walls instead of standing exposed. The constant stress was taking its toll. Men were snapping at each other. Small arguments over nothing. Nerves fraying. Food supplies were holding. The well still provided water, but exhaustion was the real enemy. 5 days without proper sleep. The human body can only take so much. Men were hallucinating, seeing things that were not there, falling asleep at their posts. Travis ordered stricter discipline. If you fall asleep on watch, you get reduced rations. Harsh, but necessary. One sleeping sentry could mean everyone dies. That night, another rider slipped out, carrying another message. The same plea, help us. This is where it gets insane. Day 6, February 28th. Something happened that changed everything and nothing. Just before dawn, a group of men approached the fort from the south, moving fast, trying to reach the walls before the Mexican sentries spotted them. The Alamo defenders saw them coming, held fire, let them get close, then opened the gates. 32 men from Gonzales, a small town east of San Antonio. They had organized quickly when Travis's first messages arrived, rode through the night, broke through the Mexican siege lines in darkness. 32 reinforcements. The defenders cheered, actually cheered. New men meant new hope. Maybe more were coming. Maybe this was just the first wave. But 32 men did not change the math. The garrison went from less than 200 to maybe 230. The Mexican army still numbered close to 2,000. The EE odds were still impossible, but the gesture mattered. These men from Gonzales knew what they were riding into, knew the siege was hopeless, came anyway, because the men in the Alamo were Texans, neighbors, friends. You do not abandon your people. Travis greeted the Gonzales men personally, thanked them, asked if more were coming. They told him the truth. No, Gonzales sent everyone they could spare. This was it. Travis understood. 32 men, better than nothing, worse than what they needed. Day 7, March 1st. Travis made a decision that morning. He was going to write a letter, not just another plea for help, a statement, something that would make clear what was happening here, what the defenders were willing to do. He sat in his quarters, pulled out paper, started writing. The letter became famous, known as the Victory or Death Letter. Travis addressed it to the people of Texas and all Americans in the world. He laid out the situation plainly. The Alamo was surrounded by thousands of Mexican troops. He had a garrison of 150 men. The enemy demanded surrender. He had answered with cannon fire. The Mexican flag signaled no quarter. This would be a fight to the death. Then Travis made his appeal. I shall never surrender or retreat. The defenders would fight to the last man, but Texas needed to send help, needed to remember the Alamo, needed to act. He ended with 3 words: victory or death. Travis gave the letter to a courier. The man slipped out that night, carried the message east, to settlements, to newspapers, to anyone who would read it. The letter would eventually reach newspapers across America, would be reprinted, would become a rallying cry, but that would take weeks. Right now, it was just words on paper, carried through darkness by a man on horseback. Day 8, March 2nd. The Mexican bombardment shifted tactics. Instead of constant fire, they began focusing on specific sections of wall, trying to create weak points. Concentrated fire on the north wall, then the west wall. Systematic, professional. The defenders could see cracks forming, not breaches yet, but the walls were taking real damage. Stone crumbling under repeated impacts, gaps appearing. At night, the defenders worked to repair damage, piling dirt and rubble against weak sections, trying to reinforce with timber. Desperate improvisation. Ammunition was becoming critical. The defenders were down to maybe 3 or 4 days of powder at the current rate of fire. After that, the cannons would be useless. The rifles would be silent. Travis sent another courier out. Another message. Same plea, but this time with added urgency. We will not last much longer without help. That message never received a reply. Inside the fort, the reality was settling in. The Gonzales men had been the only reinforcements. 5 days had passed since they arrived. No one else came. No relief force materialized. No Texan army appeared on the horizon. The defenders had been holding for 8 days. 8 days of constant bombardment. 8 days of no sleep. 8 days of watching the Mexican army grow stronger while they grew weaker. The food was running low now. Not critical yet, but rationing had started. Smaller portions. 1 meal a day instead of 2, conserving what remained. The wounded were not healing. Infection setting in. The man hit by the cannonball fragment on day 4 died on day 8. Fever and infection. They buried him in the courtyard at night. No ceremony, no time. Morale was fracturing. Some men still believed help would come. Sam Houston, would organize an army. Texas would not abandon them. Others had stopped believing days ago, accepted they were going to die here, just trying to hold out as long as possible. Crockett tried to keep spirits up, played his fiddle some nights, told stories, made jokes, the legend trying to live up to his own reputation. It helped, a little, but there was only so much one man could do against the reality of their situation. Travis walked the walls every day, talked to the men, listened to their concerns, promised them their sacrifice mattered. Every day they held was one more day for Texas, one more day for families to flee south, one more day for Houston to prepare. The men wanted to believe him, some did. Some just nodded and went back to their posts. By the end of day 8, the defenders had been in the fort for more than a week. The Mexican army showed no signs of leaving. The walls were damaged. The ammunition was running low. No help was coming, and everyone knew the assault was approaching. The Mexicans were not going to wait forever. At some point, Santa Anna would order the attack. Thousands of soldiers would charge the walls, and the defenders would have to stop them or die trying. Day 9, March 3rd. The north wall had a crack running vertically from the parapet down to the foundation. Not a breach. Not yet, but close. Mexican artillery had been hammering that section for 3 days straight. The stone was giving way. The defenders worked through the night reinforcing it, piling earth against the inside, stacking timber, creating a secondary barrier behind the damaged wall. If the stone collapsed, they would have something to fall back to. The work was exhausting. Men who had not slept properly in 9 days were hauling dirt and stone. Some collapsed mid-task. Others kept going on pure adrenaline and fear. Travis rotated men through the repair work. 4-hour shifts, dig, haul, stack, rest, repeat. The routine kept them moving, kept them focused, stopped them from thinking too much about what was coming. The Mexican army was preparing too. The defenders could see it from the walls. Soldiers drilling with ladders, practicing assault formations, moving equipment into position, staging areas being set up closer to the fort. These were not subtle preparations. Santa Anna wanted the defenders to see, wanted them to know exactly what was coming. Psychological warfare, make them dread the assault, break their will before the attack even began. It was working. Some men were breaking, not running, just shutting down, sitting in corners, staring at nothing. The constant stress had pushed them past functional. Travis tried to keep everyone engaged, gave men specific tasks, keep busy, stay active. Do not let your mind wander to what happens when those soldiers come over the walls. Day 10, March 4th. Ammunition was critical now. The defenders had maybe 2 days of powder left. Maybe. Travis ordered strict rationing. Fire only when you have a clear target. Make every shot count. The cannons were nearly useless. Not enough powder to fire them at full charge. When they did fire, the balls did not travel far enough to hit Mexican positions effectively. The artillery that had been the defenders' best weapon was becoming decoration. Bowie was dying. Everyone could see it. The fever was constant. He could not stand, could not eat, just lay in his cot in the barracks, sweating and shaking. Some men thought he would die before the assault came. The other defenders avoided looking at him. Seeing Bowie, the legendary fighter, reduced to a sick man waiting to die was too much. If Bowie could be brought down, anyone could. Food was scarce now. 1 small meal per day, mostly beans and corn. The well still provided water, but that was about the only resource not running out. The defenders were operating on fumes. 10 days of siege, 10 days of stress, 10 days of waiting for an assault that kept not coming. The anticipation was almost worse than fighting would be. That night, Travis gathered his officers, told them plainly, "We have maybe 3 days left, maybe less. The ammunition will not last longer than that. When it runs out, we cannot defend the walls. Santa Anna knows this. The assault is coming soon." The officers asked what they should do. Travis had no good answer. "We hold. We fight. We make them pay for every inch. That is all we can do." Day 11, March 5th. The Mexican probing attacks began. Not full assaults, just small groups of soldiers approaching the walls, testing defenses, drawing fire, trying to identify weak points and gauge how much ammunition the defenders had left. The defenders repelled the probes, fired from the walls, drove the Mexicans back, but each engagement cost precious ammunition. and the Mexicans learned something from each attempt. By mid-afternoon, the defenders had fired most of their remaining powder. The cannons were silent. Only rifles and pistols had ammunition left, and not much of that. Travis knew what the probing attacks meant. Santa Anna was preparing for the final assault, gathering intelligence, making final preparations. It would come tomorrow, maybe the day after, but soon. That evening, Travis made a decision. He gathered all the defenders in the courtyard, every man who could stand. Even Bowie was carried out on his cot, laid near the back so he could hear. Travis stood in front of them, young, exhausted, facing men who had been following his orders for 11 days, men who had stayed when they could have left, men who were about to die. He told them the truth. The situation was hopeless. No reinforcements were coming. The ammunition was gone. The Mexican assault would come within days, maybe tomorrow. But here's the part everyone misses. Travis gave them a choice. He drew his sword, dragged it across the dirt, created a line in the ground in front of the assembled men. Then he spoke. Anyone who wants to stay and fight, cross this line. Stand with me. We will die together defending Texas. Anyone who wants to leave, do not cross. No judgment, no shame. Slip out tonight while you still can. Live to fight another day. The courtyard was silent. 200 men staring at a line in the dirt. Then one man stepped forward, crossed the line, stood beside Travis, then another, and another. Within minutes, almost every man in the garrison had crossed. Standing together on Travis's side of the line, only one man stayed behind. Moses Rose, a French soldier who had fought with Napoleon, survived wars in Europe, looked at that line and saw certain death on the other side. Rose did not cross. That night, he slipped out of the fort, escaped south, survived, became one of the few sources for what happened inside the Alamo during those final days. The rest stayed, crossed the line, chose death. Bowie, too sick to stand, asked men to carry his cot across the line. He would die with them. Day 12, March 5th, night. The defenders prepared. They knew tomorrow was day 13, the final day. Santa Anna had been gathering his forces, staging assault columns. The attack would come at dawn. Everyone knew it. Men wrote final letters, quick notes to families. Most knew the letters would never be delivered, wrote them anyway. Some men prayed. Some checked their weapons for the 100th time. Some just sat quietly. Crockett played his fiddle. One last time. The music echoed across the courtyard. Slow, melancholy. A funeral song for men who were not dead yet. The defenders could hear the Mexican army preparing, orders being shouted in Spanish across the darkness, equipment moving, thousands of soldiers forming up, ladders being distributed, assault columns organizing. The attack was not a secret. Santa Anna wanted the defenders to hear it coming, wanted them to spend the night in fear, waiting for dawn. Travis walked the walls one final time, checked positions, talked to the men, thanked them for staying, for choosing to fight. Some men asked if he thought they would survive. Travis did not lie. No, we will not survive, but we will make them remember us. We will make them pay. The men accepted this. They had accepted it days ago, maybe from the beginning. The ammunition was nearly gone, a few rounds per man. The cannons were empty. When the fighting started, it would be brief, desperate, then over. Travis positioned men along the walls, assigned final defensive positions, told them the plan. Fire everything you have when they reach the base of the walls, then fall back to interior buildings, fight room to room, make them work for every inch. The night was cold, clear, stars visible above. The last night 189 men would see. Inside the fort, some men slept, exhausted beyond the ability to stay awake despite what tomorrow would bring. Others stayed awake, watching, waiting, listening to the Mexican army prepare to kill them. Dawn was maybe 6 hours away. 6 hours until the assault. 6 hours until the end. Travis checked his rifle one last time, made sure his pistols were loaded. His sword was sharp. When the Mexicans came over the walls, he would be ready. The defenders had lasted 12 days. 12 days holding the Alamo against an army. 12 days buying time for Texas. 12 days making Santa Anna pay for every hour of delay. Tomorrow was day 13, the day the defenders had been given to hold the fort, the day they had fought for, the day that was always going to be the last day. As the night wore on, the The sounds from the Mexican camp grew louder, more organized, columns forming, officers positioning units. The assault was imminent. The defenders stood on the walls, weapons ready, watching the darkness, waiting for dawn, waiting for the moment when thousands of Mexican soldiers would charge, waiting for the moment they would find out if 12 days of holding this fort had meant anything at all. The final night was ending. Day 13 was beginning, and there would be no day 14. Day 13, March 6th, 1836, 5 in the morning. The Mexican bugles sounded across the darkness. Not a warning, a signal. Attack. 1,800 Mexican soldiers charged from 4 directions simultaneously. Infantry columns rushing the walls, moving fast, screaming, officers shouting commands, drummers beating the advance. The defenders opened fire from the walls, everything they had left. Rifles, muskets, pistols. The few cannons that still had powder fired grape shot point blank into the charging columns. Mexican soldiers fell, dozens in the first wave, but there were hundreds behind them. The dead were trampled. The wounded left where they fell. The columns kept coming. The defenders reloaded frantically, fired again. Men working in pairs, one shooting, one loading, as fast as they could cycle through. But the Mexicans were at the base of the walls now, too close, too many. The first wave hit the walls and stalled. No ladders yet, just soldiers massing at the base, taking fire from above, dying, but holding position, creating a foundation for the next wave. Travis was on the north wall, firing his rifle down into the mass of soldiers below, shouting orders, trying to coordinate the defense. A musket ball hit him in the head. He dropped, dead before he hit the ground. The second wave came with ladders, hundreds of them. Mexican soldiers raising them against the walls, climbing, taking fire, falling. Others climbing over the bodies, reaching the top. The defenders met them with bayonets, gun butts, knives, hand-to-hand fighting on the parapets. Desperate, brutal. Men falling from the walls on both sides, screaming, dying. The north wall was breached first. Too many Mexicans, too few defenders. The damaged section that had been cracked by artillery gave way under the weight of soldiers climbing over it. Mexican troops poured through. The defenders on the north wall fell back, retreated toward the interior buildings, firing as they went, trying to slow the Mexican advance, buying seconds. The west wall fell next, then the south. Mexican soldiers coming over the parapets from 3 directions. The defenders were being overwhelmed, pushed back from the walls they had held for 13 days. Some defenders made it to the barracks, the chapel, interior buildings that could be defended. They barricaded doors, fired through windows, made the Mexicans fight. For every room, other defenders were cut down in the open courtyard, caught between Mexican soldiers pouring in from multiple breach points, surrounded, killed where they stood. The fighting became chaos. No lines, no formations, just individual struggles scattered across the fort. Defenders firing their last rounds, then fighting with knives and rifle butts, then fists, then dying. Bowie was still in his cot in the barracks, too sick to stand, too weak to fight. Mexican soldiers found him there. Sources disagree on what happened next. Some say he was killed in bed. Others say he managed to fire a pistol, killed 1 or 2 attackers before being overwhelmed. Either way, he died in that room. Crockett's death is even more disputed. Some accounts say he died fighting at the walls. Others say he was captured alive, brought before Santa Anna, executed after the battle ended. The truth died with him. All that is certain is that Davy Crockett did not leave the Alamo alive. The chapel held the longest. A group of defenders barricaded themselves inside, fired through the windows and doors, kept the Mexicans out for precious minutes. But they had no ammunition left, no way to resupply. When the powder ran out, the Mexicans broke through. The last defenders died fighting with their hands. No bullets, no weapons, just refusing to surrender, knowing the red flag meant no quarter, choosing to die fighting rather than die kneeling. By 6:30 in the morning, it was over. 90 minutes of fighting. 189 Alamo defenders dead, every single one. No prisoners taken from the garrison. The red flag had meant what it said. Mexican casualties were heavy, 400 to 600 killed or wounded. Sources vary. But Santa Anna lost more men taking the Alamo than the defenders had total. The fort had been won, but the price had been steep. Santa Anna ordered the defenders' bodies burned. No honorable burial, no respect for the dead. The bodies were stacked, wood piled around them, set on fire. The smoke rose over San Antonio for days. A few people survived. Women, children, some slaves who had been in the fort. Santa Anna released them, sent them east with a message. Tell Texas what happens when you rebel. Tell them the Alamo has fallen. Tell them resistance is futile. Those survivors told Texas, but the message did not land the way Santa Anna intended. The news reached Sam Houston 6 days later. He was in Gonzales, still trying to organize the Texan army, still dealing with political chaos and lack of resources. The message was simple: the Alamo has fallen. Everyone is dead. Houston's first reaction was anger. Anger that the Alamo had been defended at all. He had wanted it abandoned, wanted those men with his army instead of dead in San Antonio. What had 13 days accomplished except getting good men killed? But the Texan soldiers who heard the news reacted differently. They were enraged. The Alamo defenders had been their countrymen, friends, neighbors, men who had fought for Texas and died for it. Within hours, a phrase was spreading through the camp. 3 words that would define what came next. Remember the Alamo. It became a battle cry, a rallying point. The defenders had died, but their deaths would mean something. Texas would avenge them, would make Santa Anna pay for those 13 days, would win independence in their memory. Houston used it, channeled the rage into organization. The Texan army that had been struggling to form suddenly had purpose. Volunteers flooded in. Men who had been sitting on the fence chose sides. The massacre at the Alamo had created martyrs, and martyrs inspired action. Santa Anna kept advancing, confident. His army had crushed the Alamo. The Texans would break, surrender, beg for mercy. He pushed deeper into Texas, chasing Houston's retreating army. But Houston was not running in panic. He was choosing his ground, waiting for the right moment, letting Santa Anna overextend, get careless, separate from his supply lines. April 21st, 1836. 6 weeks after the Alamo fell, Houston found his moment. Santa Anna's army was camped near the San Jacinto River, resting, confident, not expecting an attack in the middle of the afternoon. Houston's army, about 900 men, charged screaming, "Remember the Alamo! Remember the Alamo!" The Battle of San Jacinto lasted 18 minutes. The Mexican army was routed, 650 Mexican soldiers killed, 700 captured, 9 Texans dead, 30 wounded. Santa Anna was captured the next day, found hiding in grass wearing a common soldier's uniform, brought before Houston, forced to negotiate. Texas won its independence. The war was over. The Alamo defenders had not stopped Santa Anna. They had delayed him, bought time for civilians to flee, let Houston organize an army, turned scattered resistance into focused rage. The fort did not need to hold forever, just long enough. 13 days was enough. 189 men held a crumbling fort against thousands, knew they would die, stayed anyway, and their deaths made Texas possible. If this story stayed with you, leave a comment. Would you have crossed Travis's line, or would you have left while you could? Did the defenders buy enough time to make their sacrifice worth it? Subscribe and turn on notifications if you want more stories like this.